What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest update from Samson Dauda at now 6 weeks out from the 2023 Arnold Classic. And I got to say, the more that I see of Samson, the more impressed I am of his physique. Not just from a size standpoint, just his overall shape. And I've been saying this for a while, is very impressive. You compare him to a guy like Big Ramy because they're comparable in size. They were both 330-plus pounds in the offseason, and they were both relatively close to 300 pounds on stage at the Olympia. But Samson really does have a much, much prettier shape and a much more streamlined and aesthetic physique. And the fact that he's really sacrificed really nothing with his midsection to put on this size, he's had really this pretty crazy transformation in between the last Arnold and this one in terms of how much size he has really put on in the last year. And you've seen him pay really no price in terms of a distended midsection, in terms of losing that shape. And it really makes me wonder, seeing how big and round and full and just wide his upper body is, how crazy that V-taper effect is. He's got these big, crazy round full quads. It really makes me wonder if he is sharper than he was at the Olympia. Could he be a really serious factor here at the Arnold Classic to win? Because keep in mind, when the lineup initially came out, Samson was the favorite to win. He was the top Olympia placer and open in that lineup. Him and Bonac, and then you had Clarita and Kamal. That was kind of the conversation of the top guys. But just because he was sixth at the Olympia, if he came in here tighter, or even significantly tighter than he was at the Olympia, could he beat a guy like Nick Walker? Could he beat a guy like Ramy? I think the answer to that question is yes, especially in the case of Big Ramy. Like I said, they're very comparable in terms of size, but Samson is just a lot prettier. So if he were to come in tighter with better conditioning, I think he could be the real deal. He could be one of the top guys. Ramy is kind of the wild card in all this. We're going to talk about that in a second, but Samson really, really does impress me. The more I see of him, he's the real deal. His structure is great, and his shape and aesthetics are amazing for the size that he carries. It really is. Conditioning is really the only if factor for Samson. And if he came into this Arnold shredded, he could win the whole thing. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about Ramy for a second here. So obviously, that was the big story that broke yesterday. Big Ramy announced that he is competing in the 2023 Arnold Classic. His coach also put out a statement. Chad Nichols, the same coach that he worked with for the Olympia, they're working together again for the Arnold Classic this year. So Chad basically shared the promo announcement of Ramy, and he put the caption, "We don't talk, we work. And it's time for Big Ramy and me to go back to work. See you in Columbus, and you already know it's going to be cold." So I had seen some speculation in the comments that now that he's doing the Arnold, maybe he's going to switch coaches. Maybe he's going to have a different approach to this prep. But it looks like he is going to have the same coach as the Olympia, despite whatever went wrong at the Olympia, which, again, we still don't know. We still haven't got a statement from Ramy or Chad as to what they think the issue was, or if something happened at the last minute that last week, what that was, or if there's something that they feel could be fixed, what that is. And by fixed, I mean in this short amount of time between the Olympia and the Arnold. So that's kind of the mystery to me in this whole Ramy doing the Arnold thing, is I really feel like Ramy wouldn't do this show unless they were confident that they could fix at least some of the things that went wrong at the Olympia. And they really haven't made any type of statement on any of that. Because I really feel like Ramy knows that if he shows up here looking how he looked at the Olympia, he's not going to win this show. He's got to know that. So if he knows that, he's also got to know that something needs to be fixed. And I would think committing to the Arnold in this short span of time between the Olympia and the Arnold, I would think either he or Chad knows what they need to fix. They just haven't said it. And that's why Ramy is such a wild card for me, because I really feel like they have some kind of game plan where they know what the issue is. They know something that we don't, is how I feel. And that's why I think they're doing the Arnold Classic, Chad and Ramy, and staying together for it. Now, next up in the news, you also got a physique update from Nick Walker at 6 weeks out. So you got some updates from Matt and some updates from Nick as well. And again, I want to draw your attention to that left calf there. It still looks very interesting, whatever's going on. Because now what I've heard is Nick say that the thing on his calf is from deadlifting. It's from scraping the bar up against his shins, and that's why it looks so red and irritated. But the thing that really sticks out to me is, again, if you look in the before and after pictures, we'll show a before from his Olympia prep, so a really recent before. That part of his calf is totally covered in these varicose veins that he has. And now, during this Arnold prep, they are completely gone in that area. Not only is it red or bruised looking or whatever, but the veins are gone, which I've never seen or heard of that happening from scraping the barbell on your shin when deadlifting. It's very strange to me that that would be the reason that he gave, and for him to essentially say there's been no corrective surgery done. Because if he did have surgery, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's any shame in that at all. I don't really understand. So I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you look at the before and after, do you think that this was a result of deadlifting? Could that be what this is from? Is there any reason why that kind of bruise maybe would kind of make all those veins temporarily go away, I guess? I don't know. I've never seen anything like that happen before. But again, I'm certainly no expert, just an observation, and I think it's something that really stands out to me whenever I look at any of these new updates of Nick's physique, because those veins on his calves have been such a focal point for so long, and for them to be pretty much completely gone from that one leg, I think is significant. Then also in these recent updates, one of the ones posted by Matt Jansen, his coach, a lot of people were commenting about the front double bicep, and he's hitting the pose differently there. A lot of people have been talking about how his waist looks smaller in some of these updates and how it just looks slightly tighter, and people are even saying downsized from his Olympia prep in these Arnold prep updates. And I think that's a good thing, but in this particular pose, he's clearly just hitting the front double differently. He's doing it where he kind of expands and stretches his midsection rather than what he typically does, which I think also looks very good, is he kind of crunches down to show the separation in his abs. He does like this crunched down front double bicep as opposed to an expanded midsection with a vacuum pose type of thing. And I think that actually works very well for Nick, but I do think his midsection does look tighter either way he hits the pose. Now, next up in the news, I wanted to talk about Derek Lunsford. It seems like at this point he is officially out of the Arnold Classic. Now, he did a podcast with Hani Rambod on the Truth podcast, their most recent episode. They discussed the Arnold Classic at length, and it sounds like it's pretty much set in stone that Derek is not doing it. Now, the reason that they give in this podcast wasn't really the same reason that we had heard when Derek did the interview on Olympia TV. So this time they say it's not even about the Olympia prep next year. It's more about Derek's health and giving him this time to not have to push it from this past Olympia to the Arnold Classic, because they are so close. For him to keep his foot on the gas, so to speak, between preps would be detrimental to his health, and that's kind of the main reason that they cite in this interview. They say, yeah, look, I mean, it's a short amount of time between the Olympia and the Arnold, and he could keep his foot on the gas and just do both, but for his health, it would be best to take that time off, which I do agree. If that is the reason, if he's concerned about his health to the point where he feels like the Arnold would be pushing it or be detrimental to his health, then of course, take that time off. But I've also got to play devil's advocate here, because I feel like they were pretty harsh in this podcast towards what they called podcasters in general pressuring Derek to do the Arnold, which I've heard pretty much every podcast say that Derek should do the Arnold and he'd be crazy not to because the prize money's so high so early in Derek's career, which I also agree with. I think this is a huge opportunity for Derek, and I think he is the favorite to win if he would jump in that lineup, which, again, it seems like based on this podcast, he is not going to do. And again, the reason they give in this podcast was health reasons, but I feel like the main reason why so many people wanted Derek to jump in, or even speculated that he might, was because we didn't hear this health angle before, and especially what we heard in the Olympia TV interview was Derek essentially saying, I thought about doing the Arnold, I want to do the Arnold, I'm thinking about doing the Arnold. That's what he said in that interview, but then he kind of trailed off and said, well, I've got to talk to my coach about it, because right now we're thinking about next year's Olympia prep. So that, to a lot of people, didn't suggest that it was a health thing. It sounded more like my coach and I want to focus on next year's Olympia, not that he doesn't want to do it. And I think that's why in that Olympia TV interview, Sean Ray and Flex Wheeler and even Tarek were a little bit harsh on Hani, and they said, look, it's not up to Hani, it's up to you, because the impression that Derek really gave in that interview was that he wanted to do it and Hani didn't want him to do it. That was really the impression that most people, I think, got from that Olympia TV interview, and I think that's why that interview went the way that it did, and I think that's why the discussion around Derek has gone the way that it's gone, because Derek really gave the impression that he wanted to do the Arnold, and he was thinking about doing it. So I don't think that all the people that were encouraging Derek to do it, including myself, were saying, hey, disregard your health and do the Arnold. It was more, you're saying you want to do it, here's all the reasons why it would be a great idea for you to do it. So I think the angle that all these podcasters, quote unquote, shouldn't be pressuring Derek to do the show is a bit of an unfair angle when Derek himself was saying he wanted to do it. I think you could make a pretty good devil's advocate argument here. If Derek were to win $300,000 his first year as an open bodybuilder at the Arnold Classic, he could use that money and invest that money so early on in his career that he could probably retire a lot sooner than he otherwise would, having that kind of money this early in his career, which would in turn be a bonus for his health. Because I think the point that a lot of people are making, and they did a good job of stressing this on the Cutler cast with manager Matt and Jay Cutler when they were talking about Derek, and they were talking about the Arnold in general, is that bodybuilding is not a lifetime career. You've got maybe 10 years if you're lucky, and it's also not guaranteed because an injury or an illness or a health condition, any of these things could take you out of bodybuilding immediately. So when you get a massive opportunity or you have something like this in front of you, it's good to take it. Because right now, with Derek being as good as he is and being the favorite to win a $300,000 show and him being healthy and him being not injured, that opportunity is not guaranteed to come around next year or the year after that. And just because he was runner-up at the Olympia this year, that's not guaranteed next year either. He could get injured during this next prep. Something could go wrong and he could fall outside of that second place spot. Now, obviously, their goal is to win the Olympia next year, and that would be great, and that would be even better than winning the Arnold Classic prize money, and it would be even better if he's able to win the Olympia next year and do it healthier because he didn't do the Arnold this year. I can see all those points. But I just think the flip side of that argument is very strong. And again, I can see it both ways. We don't want guys to push their health. Obviously, that's true. If they feel like it's going to be pushing it and they feel like it's going to be unhealthy and that's why they don't want to do it, then obviously that is a good reason, and that is a valid reason. And if that is the real reason, then of course I fully support it and think he shouldn't do the show. If that's the real reason he's concerned about it, don't do it. But I just feel like there are some really strong counter arguments to him doing the Arnold. And one that I was thinking about earlier when I was listening to the podcast with Hani is if Derek were to win this Arnold Classic and he has $300,000 immediately in his bank account, and he already has that big prize money from the Olympia runner-up position, that's going to alleviate so much stress for Derek over the next year and going into his prep for this year's Olympia. That $300,000, Derek's not going to have to worry about much of anything financially. Bills are not going to be an issue. Food, whatever. $300,000 deposit to your bank account is going to give you a really stress-free next year for any bodybuilder. That is a huge chunk of change that most bodybuilders will never win in their career. Think about that. Most bodybuilders will never win $300,000 worth of prize money by competing. And I would even say most bodybuilders will never make $300,000 per year in sponsorship money either. And I'm not saying that Derek needs the money or he's hurting financially now or that he's stressed about bills or finances now, but just think about he could just coast into this next Olympia if he were to win the Arnold. So there's all these counterpoints to think about. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Derek doing or not doing the Arnold and the reasoning they gave on the Hani Rambod podcast. Now, we also did get a physique update at 6 weeks out from Ramon Dino, and I think that this classic physique division, which is a really impressive division, has kind of gotten overshadowed by all these crazy Arnold Classic announcements because there have been so many like big stories that have broken with the open bodybuilding portion. But the classic physique lineup is phenomenal, and Ramon Dino, Urs Kausinski, they're going to have their rematch here. And I really think this is an opportunity for Ramon to get his first major win as a classic physique guy. Right now, he's like the best runner-up in classic physique. He was runner-up at the Arnold last year, runner-up at the Olympia last year. Chris Bumstead's not doing the show. Breon's not doing the show. Terrence isn't doing the show. That puts Ramon as the odds-on favorite to win this Arnold Classic and really pick up his first major momentum win of his classic physique career, and I think he is going to do that. Every update that I've seen of Ramon so far, including this one, he looks incredible. And could you imagine an improved version of Ramon if he improves from the Olympia to here and has just a dominant victory? And I'm curious to see how Urs looks here too. And I do think it's going to be a good battle between them, but I think based on what we saw from Ramon at the Olympia, he is certainly the favorite to win this competition. And what we're seeing from Ramon in these updates, he's clearly still on track. So I will try to put a little bit more focus on the classic physique division at the Arnold over the next couple of weeks because there has been such a heavy focus on the Arnold Classic Open. I mean, the announcement of a $300,000 prize money, Andrew Jack, Patrick Moore, Big Ramy, Nick Walker, all these crazy stories. I feel like Classic Physique has really gotten overshadowed, but I think a lot of people forget that Classic Physique, this lineup is shaping up to be one of the best Classic Physique competitions outside of the Olympia as well. It's an exciting lineup, and they're still paying more than the Olympia. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.
3, 2. It's showtime.
Alright guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.